Salakia for that. I had got a phone call. It was just a scam call. So, back with part two of this lesson, I had got cut off short part one due to the phone interruption. But, this is back in part two of this lesson. It's back to continue on with the reading Salakia for that. It says, but Iran-backed militants established a foothold in Syria while fighting in support of President Bashar al-Assad during the Syrian civil war. The Iran-backed military are heavily considered west of the Euphrates in Deir al-Zur province, where they get supplies from Iraq through the Al-Bokmar border crossing. So after Joe Biden ordered those airstrikes over there in the facility, I believe like the further eastern part of Syria, because you got Iran-backed groups that's allies with Iran potentially, and they have facilities, storage areas in that region. So the United States used some airstrikes. Joe Biden ordered those airstrikes over there due to the response of what happened on August the 15th of the United States military base was stationed over there, I believe, in the other different part of Syria. It was a potential drone strike, I believe. So that's why the Biden administration and the Army of the United States has facilitated an airstrike over there. Was ordered by Joe Biden. A couple of airstrikes, I believe, was the day before yesterday. So they saying this is not gonna affect the revival of the 2015 nuclear deal, as the European groups did an agreement proposal, from what I heard as I was reading on down through the article. So Iran and its associated, and its associates, along with the other side associates as well too, see if they can ponder, to renew the talks of the revival of the 2015 nuclear deal. And then I seen one article, it caught my eye. I was looking at it, but I bypassed it though, but it caught my eye though. It was saying something, I believe Iran and Syria, if I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if it was Iran that probably made that statement, was saying that United States were wrong, they was wrong for doing those airstrikes in that facility area. And they said that was a terrorist-like move, So if that report was true, so that's still gonna build more tensions between Iran and the United States. And then there was one report I seen from the representation of Israel. I believe it was the prime minister made that statement. He was saying that the Western countries and the United States as well too. And he suggests that the Western countries and the United States, they should reject the revival proposal of the 2015 nuclear deal. Because Israel and Iran, they still allies. I mean, not allies. Let me rephrase that. I meant to say Iran and Israel, they still arch nemesis. They still arch enemies and stuff like that. So after that statement being made, so I still, even if they might come with suggestions or discussions, try to revive the nuclear 2015 deal on both sides, as they might come to both sit at the table. But due to the fact with these current tensions in the Middle East, especially places like Syria, Iraq, the Lebanon border between Israel in Lebanon and Syria, places like that, the cross-border conflict between the both sides, you know. And I believe, I forgot who it was, somebody made a statement was saying, they blamed the United States. I believe it was, I don't know if it was Russia or some nation was saying that, I believe they blamed Israel for doing like nuclear strikes on the Syrian people, I believe, and saying that was a terrorist act, and they didn't want them to, they wanted them to stop doing nuclear attacks over there in the Syrian area, what these facilities or these organization factors where they located at. Either some of them might be Iranian-backed groups or, Kurdish groups or whatever, But I forgot who it was. Someone made another statement as well too, as far as regardless in this, the area in Syria was saying that all these nuclear strikes comes from Israel, which is unlawful, and it's terrorist related, So so that lets you know, as I brung out Luke 21 and 25, the disgrace of nations, nations blaming one another, these wars and rumors of wars and these commotions of wars are starting to stir up now more than ever. These are uproars of the people of the world, nations rising up against nations. That's why you see any perplexity of these nations, as it was recorded in the book of Luke 21 and 25, as you're starting to see it to continue now more than ever, And I'll bring out this other news article as well too. And this was about 2 or 3 days ago. And I believe somebody was associated with Russia. It was another car bombing, because I was looking at on the news yesterday, around 2 or 3 this morning. It was like 2 or 3 days after a Russian journalist was killed by a car bomb by a spy assassinate from according to reports. I don't know if it's true or not. And the assassin, the assailing of the assassin who did that was a Ukrainian woman, a spy, I believe, that she used a detonated bomb underneath the Russian journalist under her car, and she detonated it after she was about to take off in her car. So, but either side, one side was saying, on the Ukrainian side, said that story was fake, or on the Russian side, I believe they said the story was fake or something like that. So, you got these two other, others blaming one another on this incident, But it was another incident similar. It was like another car bombing accident, And I believe he was like a Russian affiliation or something like that, as far as military concerns. So yeah, this tensions, even if it's a rumor that's possibly might not be true, or some of it might be true, but that shows you the increased more tensions between Russia and the Ukrainians, because you already still got that war continuing to intensify and increase over there in the Russia-Ukraine thing, over there, Ukraine. And it's gonna increase now more than ever, And then I believe this is like the 6th month this war continued from February all into now. This marks the 6th month of this intensifying war between the Russia-Ukraine, reading that article out. And this is from bbcnews.com, world news, alternative news around the world. And the highlight of this news article in the reads was on August the 22nd, 2022. As it happened, journalists killing a veiled cruel crime, Putin. It says Russia accuses Ukraine of special service of murdering Dara Daka, the daughter of ally of Russia President Putin. She died in a suspected car bombing on a road outside of Moscow on Saturday. Putin calls her death a vile, cruel crime and says she was a bright, talented person in a message from Kremlin, but Ukraine denies any involvement. Yep, as I mentioned, Salakia, if I ain't, brung that out the right way. I meant to say, the lady, she was a Russian journalist, and that was a daughter of ally of President Vladimir Putin. And the assailant and the spy was a Ukrainian woman who did this incident. Said it's a Russian journalist woman. I was trying to put the story that way. Salakia for that. That was just correction. But back to the story. Putin calls her death a vile, cruel crime, and says she was a bright, talented person in a message from Kremlin, but Ukraine denies any involvement. Meanwhile, Kyiv officials ban massive events in the Ukraine capital, while the northern city Kyiv plans a curfew Tuesday evening. Because I believe it was day before yesterday, Ukraine had its National Independence Day event or something like that. And then they was on a high alert of Russia might do potential attacks on that, even though that was day before yesterday. But I think they was on a high alert, so they had security boosting, the security of the soldiers and stuff like that in that area once they had that Ukraine Independence Day, because as you see, the tensions are increasing now more than ever between the Russian Ukrainians, with this Russia-Ukraine war been started from February all the way to now, because this makes the 6th month since this war started. From February all the way to now, it been lasting for 6 months so far, So yeah, after I was reading that article right there, that shows you the tensions increasing, and the nations blame the nations blaming one another on certain issues and stuff like that, especially with the Ukrainian war going on, So these tensions are definitely going to increase between these nations. That's why you're seeing the increase of the perplexity of nations, of the stress of nations, between the nations, got these evil eye towards one another. These nations got this animosity towards one another, but it's going to increase now more than ever, This is the book of Revelations, chapter 11, verse 14. The second woe was past, and behold, the third woe coming quickly, right? The second woe was past, and the third woe coming quickly. Because these wars and rumors of wars are definitely heating up. Now you're going to have times where it kind of calm down a little bit, but it's going to increase and heat up once again, especially these rumors of wars between these nations, these nations rising up against nations, kingdom against kingdoms. It's going to increase now more than ever, as you see with the recent car bombing. I mean, if the story was real or fake, because you got people on the Russia side saying that, the story, not on the Russia side, I meant to say the associates on the Ukrainian side saying this story wasn't real, it was fake. So, that's why you got continuing Russia, Ukraine, blame each other on the, on the war with the Russia-Ukraine situation. So you got these two different nations blaming one each other, especially like North Korea. As I, mentioned, I did a video of the president of South Korea. He was trying to come with a way to come with some type of dialogue with North Korea to stop them denuclearize their weapons in exchange for economic mobility. And Kim Jong-un's sister rejected that offer. She said that offer was terrible and atrocious. So that shows you a sign right there of perplexity of the stress of nations. Of these nations are, even if they are cross-border neighbors, just like North Korea and South Korea. Same thing with Russia, Ukraine. They got this animosity and furious towards one another. That's why we're starting to see increase in the uptick of these nations rising up against nations, and it's going to increase more as well too. Especially see the tensions over there in the Middle East, especially parts of Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon. Then the cross-border clashes between Israel and Syria as well too. Ongoing, continuing proxy wars, an ongoing team of commotions of wars between the nations. It's going to increase now more than ever. Since I just mentioned that, I'm going to bring that out as well too. This is the book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 9. But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass. But the end is not by and by, right? Because the reason why the scripture said the end is not yet, because more prophecies are about to come to pass. Especially, not trying to go off topic, but with the MOTB, which is reference to Revelations 13. Revelations 13th chapter through verse 16 through 18. That's the MOTB. The Quran. And it's starting to be more of a trend now in the news. That's that digital currency. Even though the U.S. dollar might have higher value, I believe this been the highest value of the paper dollar since the early 90s, I believe. But when that time comes, that paper dollar is not going to be no more value. It's not going to be high value as it currently is right now. Because that's that MOTB, that Quran, that's coming into full effect, right along with the Revelations 11 and 14. Because we are definitely deeply living in the book of Revelations, And this is the last book. This is the last book. This is the last reading of the book, of the book of Revelations, And we are definitely living in those times in the book of Revelations. As I mentioned, the reference scriptures, the MOTB, the Karagma, a full digital currency coming very soon. It's going to be a full mandatory of digital currency. Either you down with this BEST system, or you down with your Halbashi now shy, But that's another topic at hand. But you've been seeing the increase of these commotions of wars, nations rising up against nations, kingdom against kingdoms, as I mentioned and stated this countless of times, and it's definitely starting to be increased. Now, as far as those airstrikes over there, what Joe Biden ordered yesterday, that might have an effect on the revival of the 2015 nuclear deal. And then, I believe it was Iran, made that statement from the United States. They sent that message to them saying that, hey, those airstrikes that y'all did, they look at that as a terrorist act, So that goes to show you that the increased tensions of the nations still rising, And then, just like I mentioned before of this video lesson, part 2 of this video lesson, about, Israel, the representation of Israel. I believe the Prime Minister stated that, United States and Western allies should not agree upon any continuing revived talks of the 2015 nuclear deal. They told, the United States to reject that, telling the Western countries and the allies of the United States to reject that revival of the 2015 nuclear deal. We say it should be no more discussions of that, because Israel still look at Iran as a potential big threat, not only to Israel, but to United States and Western allies as well too. So that shows you more prime examples, as I just mentioned that, and other prime examples as well too, what tensions going on continually in the Middle East, tensions with the Russia-Ukraine thing. So that shows you more continuing build up of these nations rising up against one another, and these different kingdoms increasingly one another as well too, So with that, I hope this lesson was edifying for part 1 and part 2 of this lesson, through the spirit, power, grace, and mercy of Yahweh Yahushua. And first and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Wakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, preaching this word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through the 4 corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, that be like unto the speckled bird, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And until next time, I will say shalom and a ball.